You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win!
Hosing! Score!
To Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Verhaeghe does it again! 52.1 seconds to go. Do you love it, Niagara?
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Guys, make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at Dog Pound Podcast. You can like us on Facebook and Instagram by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. You can listen to us on all audio platforms and as well on YouTube by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. Guys, if you're enjoying the video version of the podcast, you know what to do by now. Hit like, hit subscribe, smash that bell for all updates on our video podcasts that get released here on the network. And you can also check out our website, armchairgmsports.com. I'm the host of the Dog Pound Podcast. My name is Brandon Caputo. You can follow me on Twitter at bcaputo_AGM. And right underneath me on the video version is my co-host, as always, Kyle Lakett. You can follow him on Twitter at JustKyle51. Kyle, I know the NHL is busy away with the trade deadline. As the time of recording, by the time it gets released, it'll be March. We are now in March.
I feel by the time we're done recording, there'll be like 8 more trades done that we're not aware about. Because, like, my God, today was absolutely nuts when it comes to like trades in the NHL. I know this is an OHL podcast, but holy, the amount of trades today that went through, or even the last couple of days. We were just talking about before going on air. It's like all these trade deadline show people that, like the TSN people, none of that, like people who do podcasts out there that were planning to do like a trade deadline show are just absolutely shooting themselves today because of all, like literally all the top people off the board are coming off like crazy. And it's not even the trade deadline yet. We're like, what, still 3 or 4 days out?
Yeah.
Incredible.
For those wondering if we were going to do a trade deadline show, which is a yearly tradition here on the network, I think that we're going to have to pass on that one unless the trade bait board suddenly gets like 15 more new additions added to it. I think that's going to be a no for this year, guys. So yeah, maybe a free agent frenzy.
Like the TSN people I feel bad for because they go crazy. Like they start like right in the morning and they go right till 3 o'clock and they have to like come up with stuff to do in between. And some years it's gotten like really, really corny. Do you remember, what was it, the llama year?
Yeah.
Where they're like chasing the llama or following that lost llama.
It was in Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
And
insane.
Yeah, and just all the dumb other features that they do, but we've done that. We've sat there for 6 hours on a live stream, so
it's tough. It's extremely tough. You talk about trades that like come through like Tucker Poolman.
Oh yeah, your favorite of all time. I heard he got scratched and they're trying to move him, but good luck.
Yikes.
10 million. Guys, this is the Dog Pound Podcast, so this is the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. On today's show, we've got an extended version of Captain Cato's Corner with Landon Cato. Probably one of our last Cato corners of the year, so wanted to make that a good one. We've also got This Week in IceDogs History from the voice of the Niagara IceDogs on Country 89 Giant FM. That's Ted Lehman. And we've also got a post-game presser with Ryan Kuwabara following one of the games this week. Again, all 3 games resulted in losses for the Niagara IceDogs, Kyle. Some were better than others, but again, this is just part of it when you've got a team that's clearly in a rebuilding state right now.
Yeah, it's tough to watch. Some of the games were it got like really tough to watch, or it was just it turned ugly sometimes. And you know, we're not going to beat around the bush. some of those losses were extremely tough to watch, and maybe we could have improved in a couple of places or done better in a couple of different areas, but nothing to sit here and ruin my entire year about. But yeah, it was a rough couple of games for the IceDogs, but again, it's finding, we say it all the time, we sound like broken records now. It's finding those positives through the negatives is what you should try to focus on. And you get those glimpses out of a few players that this looks like a promising team going into next year, and a couple of players, like if they develop right, are going to be even better than they were this year. Guys, off the top of your head, guys like a Kevin He, Asadori, and Zach Lavoie. I saw lots of glimpses of Ryan Van Etten in the last couple of games, that he's really coming into his own as a defenseman back there. So it's finding the positives, and there's lots to look at. So besides that, it's a week to forget in my eyes. That probably might be the name of the episode.
Yeah, especially when you have 3 more games coming up, 3 and 3 nights. Friday you're at home, and then Saturday, Sunday you're going up to North Bay and Sudbury for one of those
great
northern
road trip. Beautiful.
Yeah. As far as the IceDogs this week, guys, we're going to quickly go over the the stats, team stats, and what players stood out this week. So, again, this is going to be hard to read, but goals for 8, goals against 19. The IceDogs were 2 of 14 with the man advantage, but they were 8 of 9 on the penalty kill, so that's a positive there. Shots for 73, shots against 148. They averaged about 50 shots against in the 3 games, so again, that's an area of concern for the IceDogs that I'm sure head coach Ryan Kuwabara wants to clean up. As far as the player stats go, Declan Waddick led the way this week, 2 goals, 1 assist. Andrew LeBlanc had a goal and 3 assists, and Daniel Michaud 2 goals. So that line really carried the IceDogs this week to any sort of success that they did have. The top line that we raved about last week, I think we kind of jinxed them because the Asadori and Lavoie line only combined for 1 goal this week, and that was from Alex Asadorian. So they kind of had, they had one bad week. So I think we can give them a pass on that. And then, as you mentioned on the back end, Ryan Van Etten and Jacob LeBlanc also got on the score sheet for defenseman goals. And then Owen Flores stopped 96 of 106 shots. Rosie was 33 of 41 in his 1 appearance. Kyle, what sticks out to you the most from either the team stats or the player stats this week?
It's got to be, I don't think any of them stick out the most, at least in my eyes. It's kind of a mix of both. The team stats, I guess you can say, like, yeah, the PK, right? The PK is incredible. If we're not one of the top 5 in the league, I don't know what it's going to take, because that's 2 straight times we've been on the show where they've literally, I think, only let in 1 PK goal out of all the games they played. So they're doing a fantastic job on that PK, and it's something to look good at. And if you look at the players individually, like I said, Ryan Van Etten, he really stood out to me the last couple of games, not only like on the scoring sheet, but just his play, how he carries himself out of the zone when they're going up in a rush. Even his play in the offensive end, he looks like he's calm back there. He can control, he can quarterback. So I don't know if they want to experiment with him on the power play, maybe going into next year or over the offseason. I kind of feel like I know it's tough because, you include, no one watched a lot of Leaf games, but if people are watching Leaf games, Morgan Riley is kind of that quarterback at the power play helm, right? That's why I feel like Ryan Van Etten can progress, hopefully, into going into next year. I feel like he can be that one guy they rely on that can quarterback their power play, because I saw a lot of glimpses out of that, even on the 5-on-5 the last couple of games. So he, for sure, to me, on the defensive end stuck out.
And it's hard because you look at the team's 8 of 9 on the penalty kill. I think in the first half of the year they were bottom of the league, so it's hard to get your way out of the bottom of the league even when you have a good quarter or half of a season. So I'm pretty sure that I'd like to see the penalty kill stats since Ryan Kuwabara and even Jeff Angelidis came in, because I think it's been much better in that regard, and the IceDogs have been far better on the penalty kill than they were in the first half of the year. It's just hard for them to get out of the basement, I guess you could say, in that category when you're really at the bottom by a lot, and even when you have a good stretch of a month or month and a half. the stats aren't going to show it overall, but if you go back and look at, the last little bit of the season, I think you can definitely say that the penalty kill on more nights than not, going up against some lethal power plays, has really held up their own.
Especially Barrie too, right? Like Barrie was an extremely tough game and for that team, and they took a lot of frustration type penalties, and for them to still be good in the PK during that game was showing that they're an elite PK unit, and that's something that to kind of to be happy about and pat yourselves on the back about that. Even though you're the bottom of the OHL, you have one of the best PKs going in the league. So I'm very impressed with what they've done with the PK unit, and it's something to look forward to going to next year if they can still establish that great of a PK unit, while at the same time, you're building on your forwards and getting better and improving and having a better year next year. We could be a dominant team. That's one of the keys to being a dominant team is having a great special teams back there, not only just the power play, but the PK. So if we can get both 2 of 2 going next year, IceDogs are going to be a lethal threat. They have the ability to do it. So, it's tough when they've had these last couple of games too. It's tough because I really wanted them to win 2 games. They really could have. Obviously, Sudbury, we saw what they did to them last time. We were hoping for maybe something of the same result, if not closer. Didn't go that way. Same with Sioux. Sioux are in the kind of in the same area as Sudbury, but in the Western Conference. Really a little bit far, not that far of a playoff spot. So they're kind of still battling the last part of the year to get to that final playoff spot. So both Sudbury and Sioux had something to play for, and it just didn't work out for the IceDogs to bring that same momentum at the same time. And obviously Barrie is what they are. We've seen them all year do this to the IceDogs. They are just a powerhouse team in the Eastern Conference, and are going to be a surprise, I think, when the playoffs come, is if not an OHL finals favorite, because from what I've seen with this Barrie team, what Marty's done with this team this year, incredible. Both times I've seen them come here. And I've seen a lot of the other top teams come into Niagara. I don't think I've seen, like, Barrie to me looks like they're the better team. So I'd keep my eye out on Barrie for these playoffs. If you're looking at a team to take it in the East, I think Barrie's a very high contender in my eyes.
Yeah, and it was a close game there. And late in the first period, Brant Clark scored, and everybody came off the bench, and we didn't realize at first, but he became the franchise leader for defenseman points for the Barrie Colts. So they had a whole celebration for Brant Clark, and the IceDog fans being classy
gave him such a lethal lineup, though.
Yeah,
like that with him, Frasca, Cardwell,
Veerling.
What's his name? Veerling. Like, they have a very, very great unit and good team put together. And if their goalies can stay healthy, they're going to be a tough team to play against in the East in the playoffs.
And going back to the IceDogs real quick, you look at it, they're without Cato on defense. Keen's out. Jesus was out. So, like, there's three
vets,
3 veteran defense. All, like, basically 2 of them are overagers, and Cato's the captain. So 3 of your top D are out. So, guys like Gabe Runco are stepping in. Andrew Wysick's back. Brian Van Netten, as you mentioned, stepping up into a bigger role than he might be used to. Jacob LeBlanc stepping into a bigger role. And then you have guys like William Stewart and Andrew Vermeulen, call-ups from Brantford now, that are playing for the IceDogs right now. So they've a lot of guys that are trying to get their feet wet here in the OHL in bigger roles. They're trying to learn how to be successful OHL players. One guy that's sticking out to me, Kyle, before we move on, in a positive way, again, you're not going to see any sexy stats out of him, but Mike Podolou, I don't know what it is about this guy, but he always sticks out to me. It seems like he's growing confidence with the puck since they got him from North Bay. Obviously, he's playing in a bottom role there. But he seems like he's very quick for a bigger and more of a physical forward. Like, he's got speed coming down that wing. He's a great penalty killer. And it just seems like he puts himself in an opportunity at least once or twice a game to score a goal because of his speed. And I think it's a little bit deceiving because he's a bigger player, but he's actually got some solid speed. And I like what I see out of Mike Podolou as a 200-foot player.
Yeah, and you know what he is? He's got that mentality, that we used to call all the IceDog players that would have that certain mentality back in the day. he's got that pesky dog mentality, and I think he could be a very, very crucial player in the lineup going into next year. And I've seen what you've seen the last couple of games with him. He's really improved his 200-foot game. He's also proven to be very aggressive when he needs to be. So I really like Podalu's game. Same thing with, and we just mentioned the rookies. Gabriel Runco stuck out to me a lot too on the back end. A very aggressive. He kind of reminds me of like another Rebo out there. Like he's just gonna throw his body around. He's not afraid to throw his body around no matter what size the other guy is. Very aggressive on defense and very aggressive on the puck. He's literally like a dog shooing a puck out there. Like he's what embodies an Ice Dog player. So I've been really impressed with Gabriel Runco as well.
Yep, and again, stepping in as a OJHL player. Now, now those three guys, Stewart, Runco, and Vermeulen, we'll see how they progress moving forward and even into next year with this team. With that said, let's get to our one post-game presser with head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Ryan Kuwabara. We'll come back, touch up on that, and then we'll hit the break.
A couple things go better offensively, and you're right back in that game.
Yeah.
You weren't crisp offensively tonight, I don't think. What was going on?
Tough to say. Tough to put my finger on it, right? We didn't have a great start, obviously. So,
right.
We'll try to address that coming into tomorrow. But, we just, they should have it, I guess. It's frustrating, for us because we plan, we make, the structure, and we don't go execute, or for whatever reason it just wasn't happening. But I think if we score on that first 2-on-1 there in the third period, it doesn't come back down in our and go in our net, it changes the game completely. I think we get momentum there, and it's a different story, and we just we're flat.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, structure is important defensively. On offense, where does it come in there? Do you let them kind of freewheel and do what they want, or how does it work?
No, we definitely have a plan, right? So there's predictable for us, but unpredictable for the opponent, right?
Yeah.
We have set stuff that we work through, and guys are supposed to be in the right spot. And today just seemed like a little bit we were watching the punch instead of engaging and going and doing the normal stuff we do. So like I said, I think we're flat.
Sure, yeah. Now, obviously, you gave up 10 goals last game. Nobody wants to do that.
Yep.
Was the focus in practice to really get back to maybe?
Some structure and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This was a good team. They play, offensive. Lots of different things happening there, right? They're doing high exchanges, they're doing low exchanges.
Right.
They're trying to create some chaos down there for us, and sometimes our D zone, got away from us a little bit. But that's stuff we can work on with communication, though.
For sure, yeah. When you do get down early like that, does that change the game plan, or waver from it?
No, I don't think so. We're a resilient bunch. I think we've proved that over and over that we work and we battle, and we battle back hard to tie it up.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we made one little slip in the end of the second there where they got a goal, and the D zone breakdown, but that's something with video and teaching and stuff like that. We just keep grinding into these young guys.
Yeah. Now when things don't go well, those slip-ups, obviously, a lot of times you end up in your net.
Yep.
And how frustrating is that? Because when you're going well, sometimes it doesn't go. It just seems like when it rains, it pours and stuff like that.
It's and then I think the guys too, that it's just they get in their own heads a little bit. And,
Yeah.
They try to overdo it. We didn't have a great start, and then we start pushing. We get back in the game, and then there might be a little breakdown. Then everybody's trying to overcompensate instead of just do your job. Unfortunately, we're duplicating, and that usually leads to a chance against.
Sure. Yeah. Van Netten got a goal tonight.
Yep.
I know you don't have him here to score goals, but just tell me a little bit about his progression this year. I know you weren't here at the beginning, but what do you see out of him?
Yeah, no, he's working hard. Obviously he's starting to get a little production, so which is good. But for him, it's just continuing to be sound in the D zone, right? That's something where he's just got to continue to work at, like a lot of these guys. So that's a big issue. A lot of them aren't used to playing, within a good structure.
Right.
And
Kyle, what were your thoughts there? Again, apologies for a little bit of lag there on the video, but what did you think of head coach Ryan Kuwabara? Again, it's just you're just going through the motions right now, and as the head coach, you got to kind of remain calm despite the guys frustrated with not getting the results that they want, the instant gratification of seeing the results right away, and the players have pride. They don't want to be in this position, but again, they just have to continue to fight through it, and coach has got to get them playing the style that he wants them to play.
Yeah, like he mentioned, like it's all about like he knows what the players know what they did wrong, and it's about coaching them and kind of following up with them on what they did wrong and how they can improve. And that's what he said. Like they obviously focus on what they do wrong and look to improve day by day. So again, he knows what his team is. He knows where his team's at. He's not an idiot. Like, so he's treating his team as the rebuilding team that they are. So no, again, like you said, no use in getting frustrated every game because you know what your team is. You know your team's not gonna be the OHL competing team right now. So you work on the areas that need improvement and you look at getting better from them. So hats off to coach to still being composed even at this point here, having a extremely rough year and just keeping up with it and instilling his system into this team and working with these players on and just, getting better, right? Basically, it's kind of like an early offseason for this team with having OHL competitive games. You have this time to kind of get better now as opposed to like during the offseason when you don't really have that convenience of playing like competitive games in the offseason. So he's taking that to his advantage and he's looking at what players need to do to improve themselves. And like he was talking about Ryan Van Netten and how he's got to improve and tighten up in his own defensive zone, right? And he mentioned it was not even just him. A lot of the players in this team, and he knows that it's an area of focus, and they're going to work on it. So, hats off to coach.
With that said, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to get This Week in IceDogs history, and we're going to get the extended version of Captain Cato's Corner with Landon Cato, captain of the Niagara IceDogs. So, guys, stay right here. Be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs.
Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports and esports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive's game concept revolves around player props, which are simple over-unders on player stats. There are contests for traditional sports including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and cricket, as well as esports titles including CSGO, Dota 2, League of Legends, and more coming soon. Here's how to play. Choose your lineup of over-unders for top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Each prop has a fantasy point total based on how likely it is to hit. The more points the selection is worth, the riskier it is. Rack up the most points and win a share of the prize pool. Thrive is awarded over $2 million in cash, so come and prop up today.
Hey, this is Landon Cato.
Hey, it's Juan Copeland. This is Kevin He, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast,
The official podcast
of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to segment 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast. Brandon Caputo and Kyle Lake back with you here. Guys, if you're enjoying the video version or the audio version of the podcast, make sure you're hitting like and subscribe, whatever platform you're listening or watching us right now. We'd really appreciate the love. And as well, you can check us out at Dog Pound Podcast on Twitter for all of our IceDogs updates. Kyle, your favorite part of the show, and again, he got it to us very, very late. Like game time decision for Ted Lehman in This Week in IceDogs history, but he got it in just in time for us to start the show. So it is time for This Week in IceDogs history with the radio voice of the Niagara IceDogs, Ted Lehman, on Country 89 and Giant FM. Teddy, what do you got for us this week for IceDogs history?
Alrighty, I'm Ted Lehman. We have got a busy week this week in IceDogs history. Get to the birthdays first. This past Sunday, the 26th, Ben Jones celebrates his 24th. A day later on the 27th, happy 27th, Blake Siebenaller. Josh Rosen swag in IceDogs colors this season, turning 20. Leighton Moore, we get to celebrate his last visit to St. Catharines not too long ago, playing for Kitchener. Original first-rounder from the IceDogs. He turns 21. Tuesday the 28th, Sebastian Dam, first great goalie picked up by the IceDogs. General Manager Dave Brown did it in the inaugural season. He's celebrating number 36. And into the month of March, Friday the 3rd, Ryan Shipley He celebrates his 29th. Ryan Saris, remember him as a great young guy, just couldn't stay healthy. Saturday the 4th, he'll be 27. And happy 25th to Josh Dame, who celebrates on Sunday, March 5th. Now to history. And as we said, it was kind of a momentous week. You start on March the 1st, 2009, in the very final season coaching for legendary all-time winningest 67's coach. Of course, we're talking about Brian Kilray. The IceDogs hosted the Ottawa 67 Sunday afternoon game, but not at the Jacket, of course. Nobody even knew of the Meridian Center, but at the great old venerable Niagara Falls Arena, because it was the last OHL game ever played in that building. 5-3 win for the IceDogs over the visiting 67s. Of note, the players went out in vintage Niagara Falls Blackhawks jerseys, all of them wearing 17, honoring Derek Sanderson, who was a part of the pregame puck drop, along with the great voice of the Buffalo Sabres, Rick Jenneret, and Phil Roberto, who had all kinds of success during his time in Niagara Falls. That happened 2009 on the first day of March. It was a Sunday. And then we go to March 4th, 2012. One of the strangest games in all of IceDogs history. It precipitated a rule, which sounds kind of simple. You got to bring two goalies, because the Erie Otters came to town and had only one. Ramis Sadikov, and $1.45 in, he ends up in a collision with Alex Friesen, or you can look at it the other way around. His day is done. Now there's no goalie for the Erie Otters, and that's when a hockey game turned into what sounded like an episode of Robert Stack on Unsolved Mysteries.
Finally, we've got white jerseys coming out of the dressing room, and well, just like Family Feud survey says, the goaltender for the Erie Otters is wearing number 1, and well, this is going to be interesting because he basically is not even exactly that comfortable on the goalie skates.
You could hear Rod Mahood at the Old Jack announce, number 1, Connor Crisp, an injured forward, put goalie skates on, and if you've never done it, it's no bargain. And he took one for his team. He went in and played goal. Freddie Hamilton scored less than a minute later. It was his 32nd of the year, and I think the shot came from the IceDog side of center, and then Coach Marty Williamson said, no, let's at least get into the offensive zone. And by the time they were done, you had 46 shots for the IceDogs, 40 for the Erie Otters, and the IceDogs had won at 13-4. And you think recently about Zach Lavoie's 6-point game. This game featured 2 of them. Freddie Hamilton, that was his only goal, but he had 5 helpers. And Ryan Strome, later on in the first period, would get an assist on a power play goal by Andrew Agazzino, but then he added 5 goals. So 1-5 for Freddie, 5-1 for Strome. And the IceDogs won 13-4, and in a classy move on a crazy day, Connor Crisp was selected as the game's first star. It happened this week in IceDogs history. I'm Ted Lehman. Enjoy. More history to come.
Wow. Connor Crisp. What a memory that is. And it's funny because Zach Lavoie's 7-point night, you had Freddie Hamilton, Ryan Strome was six apiece, or 7. Connor Crisp. Can you imagine being an injured player and being told you have to strap up goalie pads because
and go out there?
Your one goalie got hurt. Like, that's like something that happens in men's league, Kyle. Like something would happen in your men's league where like you might have to strap onto pads or something. But in an OHL game, for something like that to happen in a 13-4 game, that's just like unheard of. What a piece of history there.
God, that's insane. And what a point night for both Strome and Freddie Hamilton. My God. Both had a 6-point night, a 13-4 game. And him mentioning the old Niagara Falls arena too. Oh, memories of that arena. God, just I can't think of a single one. Maybe like receiving the junior B tickets at schools and then going, that was like the Friday night that was the Friday night thing to do, was go to like junior B Niagara Falls Canuck games. Man, just incredible.
And they played the last OHL game ever in Niagara Falls there at for that arena.
Yeah.
With everybody wearing Derek Sanderson number 17 jerseys, just it's a lot of nostalgia, and I love how Ted's even got some audio clip of Connor Crisp coming into the game, like, and hearing Rod Mahood back at the jack, like, gives me goosebumps, like, thinking of, you know, why we love the IceDogs and why we continue to, you know, pour our heart and soul into this team. And some people are more passionate than others, and, you know, we all want to see this team do well. Again, let's just hope that we can get there in a couple of years and see what happens. But happy birthday to Rosie, Josh Rosenswag, also, by the way, with that piece of IceDogs history. Kyle, I think it is a good time for us to hit the extended version of Cato's Corner with Landon Cato. Again, guys, probably one more before the end of the season. We'll try to catch up with Captain Cato there, still on the shelf, again, doing all he can off the ice as basically a player coach to do all he can for his teammates. But here's an extended version of Cato's Corner with the captain of the Niagara IceDogs, Landon Cato. Join another installment of Captain Cato's Corner with Landon Cato of the Niagara IceDogs. Landon, first question off the hop here. Did you guys get together for the Leafs-Sabres game the other night? And if so, was Augustinelli cheering for the Sabres or the Leafs?
No, we didn't get together, but you should ask Egel that question. He probably was cheering for one team. I'm not sure which one, but I think this year it is the Leafs. Like, I know I've told you this multiple times, but we talk about the Leafs more than any team in the league, so I don't know, you can say he's a Buffalo Sabres fan. Like, they play good hockey, but I think he's realized that it was like a beginning of the year. No offense to you guys either, but it was beginning of the year you guys had a little bit of a spell, which maybe the IceDogs could have used, but I don't know. I think the Leafs might have it during the playoffs.
You mentioned it earlier in the year. What's with Ryan Van Netten? Like, is he like a Toronto Maple Leafs historian? Like, what's the deal with that?
No, he's an NHL. He knows anything you need to know about the NHL. If we don't know who to talk about in the dressing room or we don't know the number, we just ask Netter. If we need someone on the Leafs, for sure, we asked. There was like a player comparison, and Netter said Justin Hall. And he said because of his defensive play, like he was just explaining it to me after, like all the players gave him hell for it because it was Justin Hall, but he actually had a reasoning. Like he watches them so much that he knows like who he likes and like what he likes, and he could tell you the next move they need to do, and he could be the GM one day of the Leafs.
Great analysis there from Ryan Van Netten. Speaking of analysis coming from you as the captain, you've been able to see this team lately. You know, you picked up a couple wins. Just what has that been like in the dressing room for the guys' confidence and just their swagger to be able to finally get a couple of wins under your belt and scoring a lot of goals lately? Like, do you see a little bit of a turn for the good in the dressing room with the spirits of the guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after any win, we make sure that we are showing that we're happy and that we're ready to go, and that we know we need to take every win as they come and as much as they can. But yeah, that's been our biggest thing. Cooey and all our coaching staff have told us we just got to have fun. We have to learn to love hockey again. I think that's the biggest thing right now. It's hard for people to understand that don't go through this is the love of hockey. It's not that we lose the love of hockey. It's the grind that we have to do every day, going to the rink. After you lose a huge game, like, you know, it's one of the toughest things to do. And with our group down there, like, can't say more things about them on how much we're able to regroup and like laugh in the dressing room and still have fun with it and practice as hard as we can. So it's a good question. That's one of the biggest things that we need to do is take every win as much as we can and losses learn from them. That's been the biggest thing all year.
And as somebody that's in the room, like, do you possibly see, like, you know, when things aren't going well, do you kind of tell the guys, like, as the captain, you know, don't think about hockey for a couple days, like when you have a couple off days, like, you know, the guys have a lot of stuff going on outside of your lives. You guys aren't pros yet. You guys some guys have school, work, things like that, and other outside pressures and things like that. So how do you kind of see the guys balancing that? And do you say anything to them as the captain to try to say, like, you know what, you know, if things didn't go well tonight, just forget about hockey for a couple days and come back fresh and ready to go the next week?
Yeah, no, we've used that a lot this year. Like, that's been one of our biggest tools, allowing guys mental states. We had some problems with it earlier in the year with some players who had bad mental states and weren't doing well, and our team took every initiative they could to help that guy and do stuff like that. But yeah, off days and 2 days off or whatever, we do really encourage guys to either be around the boys and be around the team or go home and really kind of regroup their mind. I mean, it's probably, like I said earlier, like hockey's bigger than me right now. It's bigger than our team right now. So our biggest thing is becoming a group, because those are the guys we're going to be with for another 365 days. Those are the same guys that we're going to have to battle with until further notice. So that's the thing with the OHL is you got to find a way almost. You got to find a way to get the results that you need, and if they're not coming in that year, you got to find a way to get the results for next year or work towards it. So yeah, off days have been huge. I know a lot of guys do take the option to go home for a day maybe to see their family, or a lot of guys' family have been coming in. Like Halsey's family came down last week and he scored a goal, which, I mean, I think you saw the whole press box jump up, including the players. So yeah, that was another huge one. It's just big moments like that we can take away from this year, and anything happy and anything fun that we can take away from this year, it's a great thing.
Speaking of that, is there anybody that's really catching your eye lately that's, taking their game to the next level? I asked you that the last time, but since the last time that we talked, is there anybody that you think is really improving their game since, maybe even the calendar changed over to 2023?
Yeah, Ryan Vanette, he scored today. I mean, just confidence in his game. You can see once you put that one goal in, you're kind of rolling. And he's one of those guys who's quieter and he's not really as aggressive as most guys, but when you see him playing with confidence and you see him making the spin moves down low and doing the things he has to do, I think it's only up for him. The way that kid loves the game, I really think there's only a way up. In Podaloo, he had a huge fight in Oshawa, absolutely obliterated the kid. And me and Eggo kind of knew that he had that in him. The kid's built like a brick house. Like, there's 0% body fat on him. You can ask Ferry, ask any of those guys. That kid is a monster. And he got his goal. He's been producing. He's been getting offensive chances. Tonight he had a good chance in front, and I think there's more to come from that kid. He's an absolute horse. What
do you say about the kids that get called up from Brantford? William Stewart, Gabe Runco, and even Andrew Vermeulen when he's in the lineup. What do you say to those guys? As that's a tough spot to be in. They're coming up, from a lower league and being thrown into the fire right away. So what do you say about those three guys being able to get called up when needed and be able to play and be productive for you guys?
Yeah. It's pretty cool this year. Actually, we're Stewart's up here for, I think, the rest of the year, most of the year right now. He's kind of just training with us and practicing with us. So anytime me and Augustinelli get on the ice for skate, usually every day, he'll be out there with us. So you kind of learn a lot through the kid on the ice, and when you're battling and stuff, you kind of learn a lot. So it's really cool to see how Runco and Stewart and Vermeulen have been able to step in and be really close with guys, and Michaud and Runco drive to each game together. Like, it's really good. They're not treated as call-ups or anything like that. And Vermeulen, I mean, watch out for that kid. He's going to be a menace in this league. He's built to play hockey. He's huge and he can skate. He's going to be a good thing to watch. Him and Kevin Heath, they're two good pickups from that draft class, and they'll be a good group to watch for sure.
Hopefully they come to the rink in Runco's car, because Michaud's car, heard it coming in. It does not sound very good. It's like a microwave on wheels, that thing.
Yeah, no, he's lucky. He gets his billet's car sometimes. And Runco has probably the nicest car out of all of us. So he has like a nice orange Charger. So yeah, he's not bad sitting in that car in the morning. So.
And last question, last week with the Akil Thomas designed jerseys, the Black History Month game, just how great was that to see for you and somebody who was around Akil in his last year here in Niagara? Just how cool was that to see him design the jerseys? What did you think of them? And what did you think of that whole atmosphere?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I think we need to do a lot more stuff like that. First off, I think it brings awareness to the game. Elijah Roberts and Akil Thomas are doing amazing things with promoting the game to black hockey, and it being Black History Month. I think it's a great way to show as IceDogs, our appreciation for them and for everything that those guys do for our sport and everything that Black History Month does for our sport. It was kind of cool. I had a lot of family out, a lot of Akil's friends and cousins were out and stayed at my house that night, and we kind of got a little pre-party with Akil the day before he went back after All-Star break, so it was cool to hang out with him, and he gave me the shirts actually to bring down to Niagara, so I got a sneak peek at them before they made it, and yeah, it was just a special night for everyone. Me not being able to be on the ice was kind of tough and not doing that puck drop and playing in those jerseys, but I made a speech in front of the boys that night, and I just asked them to do it for me and do the best they can, and we got to win, so it's crazy to see. It brings me a little goosebumps, like, to think that your team could do something like that for you. And I mean, with the ranking cancer night and Black History Month, like, you see that there is heart in this room. We had the young man who came into the room before the game and set our lineup before the ranking cancer night, and we knew how much it meant to our goalie coach Jay Barron, and we got up for that game, ended up coming out with a win, and it's so great to see the guys able to do that for me and for a bigger cause. And for a bigger cause, even bigger than this game. So those are big things we look for, and it was such a special night. I can't thank the Ice Dogs and this organization enough for making us feel welcome like that.
Great stuff, and I'm sure Akil is proud to pass the captaincy on to you for obviously all that you're able to do for the team off the ice right now. So another edition of Captain Cato's Corner with Captain Landon Cato. Landon, thanks a lot for doing this, and maybe we'll catch up one more time before the end of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, Kyle, great stuff in an extended version of Captain Cato's Corner with Landon Cato. A lot of good stuff there, Kyle. What do you want to highlight?
Just what he said at the end there too. Like, I do agree with him. I think there needs to be more of that, even not just with the Ice Dogs organization. Around the league, there needs to be more awareness, and they need to, I think, a better job. And I even mentioned it a few times in the press box. I think that jersey, it was so well done that should probably be their third jersey, and they should wear it more often, right? It's a way to help with that and to kind of celebrate that stuff, right? So I do agree that feel like they should be doing more of that, and it was really cool to see like how he was introduced to the jerseys with Akil, and he got the early look at it and got to bring them in. So that was really, really cool, nice to hear. And you know what, like he's right. What Akil and Elisha Roberts are doing outside of this organization now after leaving the Ice Dogs, it's really good to see. But I'm glad, Kate's another guy. We talk about the coach still being in good spirits. We talk to Cato all the time in the press box, as still being the captain of this team and being out with injury, right? That's tough for him, right? And not only just the Black History Month game, but tough for him to not be out there right now, helping these young rookies and to play alongside them to help them, right? He can help them off the ice as much as he can, right? But there's that other missing element of being on the ice and being that veteran presence on the ice and being the captain on the ice to a lot of these young players.
Yeah, and again, I like what he mentioned about the rookies, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And what he's seen in Podolou and Van Netten as of late. Those are two guys that are catching his eye off the ice, and just making sure that the guys are in good spirits, and they're, when they do win the game, they make sure they enjoy it, but they know there's a lot more to do on the ice. And William Stewart trying to get out there and practice as much as he can. As a call-up player now with the team the rest of the year, trying to build him a spot as an OHL player. So just great stuff there, analysis from Landon Cato, from what's actually going on in the room. If you guys want, we can sit here and other media and people on Twitter we can all sit here and talk about, what's really going on. Well, Landon just told you what's going on, and despite the results, these guys are still going out there. They still have a lot of pride. Yeah. And they still are competing till the very end, even though things are pretty bleak at this point for playoffs and other factors like that. They're still trying to give it their all right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking ahead to this week, Kyle, it's going to be a very tough one for the Ice Dogs. You got the Peterborough Petes coming in on Friday night to the Meridian Center, finishing off the Ice Dogs 4-game homestand. And then you go on the road to play at Sudbury on Saturday, and then at North Bay on Sunday afternoon. We'll look at the again. I'm just pulling up the standings for some reference to the teams that we're playing. I don't want the croutons on Twitter to go off on me saying that, you guys still think that they can make the playoffs. Obviously, like, we're 21 points back of ninth place, so pretty sure it's done at this point. But we're still looking at it just as far as the teams that they're playing. So if you're following along in the video version, that's why I have the standings up right now. So North Bay, obviously second place in the Eastern Conference. Peterborough is fourth right now. And the third team,
Ice Dogs can still play spoiler, like
exactly. And
just because we're not in a playoff spot,
Sudbury's only 5 points. Sudbury's only 5 points up on Kingston for between Sudbury and Kingston. It's only separated by 5 points total between the three teams, and one of those teams is going to be knocked out of the playoffs. So the Ice Dogs could really play spoiler here against a Central Division opponent. And I must say, the Sudbury and Niagara games lately have been chippy. I don't know if it's because they're division rivals or because they've had to play so many games here in a short period of time. Maybe that's been a factor into it too, but very, very physical, chippy. These teams don't like each other, and I can see another one of those type of games up in Sudbury on Saturday night.
Yeah, and it's been like that all season with these two teams, right? They've been so back and forth this year with even the game results. It's going to be chippy. And, you have the Sudbury Wolves who are battling for that playoff spot, right? Like they're the Ice Dogs are the ones playing spoilers here. So it's still going to be something to look at when it comes to every game for the rest of the year. So I'm excited. You know what I mean? Like I can't wait to see these next games coming up. It's going to be tough, but at the same time, like we said in the beginning of the episode, it's something to look forward to, that the Ice Dogs can use these games as something they can work on with their own game and to get better at. So it's going to be a tough test, but it's another week where it was like last week, right? Like we played Sudbury and Sioux last week, or not Sioux. We played Peterborough a couple of weeks ago, and we played Sudbury twice in the past couple of weeks. So the Ice Dogs have that familiarity right now with these next couple of teams. So you know what? They can get it done. It's just a matter if they're going to get it done. And regardless, we got one home game and then two difficult road games. We'll see what happens.
I'd like to pull out the 2 points against Sudbury. I really think that that's doable. Again, Kingston is in a free fall right now, by the way. They're on a 7-game losing streak. So
wow.
Sudbury and Oshawa have both passed them now for the last playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. So Kingston, yikes, right now at the time of recording. Hamilton's playing Erie right now as the only Tuesday night game for whatever reason on the OHL schedule this week. But if I'm the Ice Dogs, I look at that Sudbury game, you know, they're 1-1 in their last little series they had in the last week.
Yeah.
I think they want to go up to Sudbury and really take it to them. They didn't like the way that this last game finished against Sudbury. Sudbury really started to, you know, flap their gums a little bit too much, and they almost got caught late in the game. The Ice Dogs almost battled back there, but I think that there's a lot of animosity between those two teams, and they'll be biting fast and biting hard between the Wolves and Ice Dogs, pun intended there with the animals. And then obviously North Bay Sunday afternoon going up to see Pasquale Zito, and you know Mike Podolou always wants to have a good game against his old team. It's going to be tough though when you go from Sudbury at 7 o'clock on Saturday, and then playing in North Bay on Sunday in an afternoon game. You'd hope that the Ice Dogs would go in there coming off a high with a win in Sudbury. I think that would give them a lot of confidence to be in that North Bay game, because you're playing the 2nd and 4th place teams in the Eastern Conference this week in Peterborough and North Bay. So, I mean, realistically, you're looking at that Sudbury game and saying, okay, let's pull out 2 points. Let's be competitive in those other games and see where we come out of it this week.
Yeah, exactly.
And player stats this week, update, Zach Lavoie leads the team with 47 points in 58 games, 23 goals. You mentioned last week his stats as an Ice Dog have been incredible. 28 points in 30 games, just been, you know, a firecracker for the Ice Dogs. Just had a one-down week. I'm sure he wants to bounce back. Same with Alex Asadorian since coming over to the Ice Dogs. 25 points in only 23 games. He's still over a point a game. Since he's come over, and he's going back up to Sudbury, so you know he wants to have a big game as well. And Daniel Michaud and Declan Waddick are all in the 20-goal categories. Kevin needs to get up to he's 1 away from 20, and I think he's 2 or 3 away from the rookie record of Akil Thomas. Wow. So we'll see if he can get to that in the next couple of games. But
if there's anyone that can do it, it's definitely him.
Yeah, Kev's shown that he's been great and maturing well beyond what we expected from him in his rookie season. So, and then even Andrew LeBlanc has caught fire as of late. Again, when the Ice Dogs acquired him, he was injured, and it took him a while to really get going. But I feel like in the last 3 weeks or so, you always see Andrew LeBlanc on the score sheet. He's up to 29 points in 46 games. And again, this guy was a former first-round pick, so the Ice Dogs acquired both LeBlanc brothers from the Kitchener Rangers for a couple of second-round picks. So I think, it didn't look great at first, but I think Andrew LeBlanc's a guy that you look at and say, you know what, maybe that investment was worth it long-term, because it seems like he's really starting to get his game going, and maybe next season we'll see him get close to a point-a-game player.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Kyle, anything before we wrap up the show today?
Not entirely. Again, we have 11 games left in this season. Still, guys, I know you're listening. Still come out to the home games. The Ice Dogs will always appreciate you coming out to the home games to cheer them on, regardless of where they are in the standings. They feed off your energy, and you guys have been doing that amazingly the last couple of home games. So, still, as Rob says, be loud and be proud and come cheer them on. We have a lot of home games to end the season. I believe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 11 games left are at home. So, and there's a couple of Sunday afternoon games as well. So easy enough to go see an Ice Dog game. So get down there, support the boys, and look and get excited about the future.
Hopefully next week we can come back and talk about the Ice Dogs picking up a couple of points against a couple of really good teams. Optimistically, we'll hope to see it happen. And that game against Sudbury should be a doozy. We should see a lot of penalty minutes up on the board for that one. But
hey, we got that PK though.
Yeah, and the Sudbury Wolf that comes across when they score that.
Oh, that great, definitely not tacky wolf that comes across the arena for sure.
Yeah. So good luck to them driving up for that road trip this weekend. And
it's a rough weather week this weekend too. That's going to be a rough drive for the boys.
Yeah, Sudbury, North Bay. Best of luck to them.
Yeah.
Be safe travels to Bill, the bus driver, and everybody else involved. So, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Dog Pound Podcast and liking us on Facebook and Instagram by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. And guys, if on the video version, make sure you hit subscribe, hit like, and on audio form, we thank you as well. Until next week, for Kyle Aikett, my name is Brandon Caputo. Bark, 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 go dogs go, and we'll talk to you guys again next week. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.